Hi everyone, have you heard the news? The glaciers are changing, retreating even, and in some cases collapsing. But perhaps rather than hearing the news, you would actually like to see the glaciers changing for yourself. Well, good news, because any of you can do this, and you don't need any glaciology or programming experience. It can all be done relatively easy and freely using the online viewer EO browser. Within a few minutes, you can be creating time lapses like these that go back from 2022 all the way to the 1970s. So enough teasing, let's do this thing. Creating this time-lapse is all going to be done in Sentinel Hub's EO browser, which is an online viewing tool for looking at various different satellite imagery. Just navigate to this URL and you're in. In previous videos I've started by using the non-registered version. However, to create time-lapses you need to be registered. Trust me, you're going to want to do this anyway because of all the cool stuff you can do with this. It's free, just follow the instructions from the top left. So go to login in the top left and follow the sign up instructions in order to register. I'm already registered, so I'm just going to sign in. Now I'm going to check out a glacier in the Karakoram, and for the record, although I've already checked this now, I did not know whether this glacier was advancing or retreating or staying the same. Most glaciers in the world are retreating, but let's check out this one. So I wanted to check the Baltoro Glacier. So you can use the search button in the top right in order to search for mountains and glaciers, and you can see Baltoro Glacier coming up. So I'm going to click on that, and then once you do that and click on it, you'll magically go over to the area, but we can't see anything yet. So just click on search. Sentinel-2 is already selected. We'll click on search, and then we'll just visualize the first image here, and you can just begin to see some glaciers in here. I suggest go down to highlight optimize natural color. That brings down the whites and reduces the contrast so that we can see a bit more of what's going on. Now it's a bit cloudy in this first image, so I'm actually just going to show the time-lapse function, which is this on the right. Click on that, and this allows us to quickly search through images in order to find one that's cloud free, and you can immediately see one has come up at the beginning of this time-lapse that is quite cloud free on the 1st of July 2022. So I'm actually going to bring that one up. Just go to the date here and select the 1st of July, and then we'll get that image. And this allows us to line up the end of the glacier like this. Now, in order to go back to the 1970s, we need a lot of images from a lot of different satellites. And the imagery that's consistent across all of the different satellites, at least that I've found, is the false color imagery. So I'm actually going to shift to false color imagery here, and that makes it kind of a bit red. We can still see the glacier nicely. Now we need to get all of the other satellite imagery in order to create our time-lapse. To do that, we have to pin all the imagery. So to start with, I'm going to pin the Sentinel-2 imagery, which we have here. To do that, you just go to the pin on the left here and click on it. And then that will be added to the pin right here. That's in your pins now, right there. Now we want to add the next satellite, and I'm going to go back to Discover, and you'll see all of these satellites. We're going to be adding Landsat 1 to 5, Landsat 4 to 5, Landsat 7, Landsat 8 to 9. You'll notice Landsat 6 is missing. That's because the fuel tank blew up, and that one never made it into orbit. And Landsat 7 is unfortunately full of stripes and errors. So we're going to be using that, but we want to get rid of a lot of these images from Landsat 7. So let's start by, I'll go back in time at the satellite. So I'm going to go Landsat 8 to 9, and I'll get rid of Sentinel-2, and then I'm going to do another search. And then I'll just visualize. And in this case, we don't really, the image itself doesn't really matter. We just want to have it registered as being a false color Landsat 8 to 9 imagery. So I'm just going to pin this one, even though it doesn't look very good. Add to pins. Next up, we have to get the Landsat 7 data. If you click on unselect all the others and then go to Landsat 7, select level 1, and click search. It's probably going to say no products found, so that's because it's too recent and there aren't any in the recent imagery. Just click the date and go back a few years and that should do the trick. If we search now, then we should get some images coming up. And then just click on one and let's see what it looks like. I wouldn't mind getting some image in here. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to click on false color again, and I've actually moved the image a little bit. Let's get back to the end of the glacier there. And then we need to pin this, so I'm just going to add to pins. And now we've got our 3 pins set up: Landsat 7, Landsat 8 to 9, Sentinel 2. There are 2 more to go. No Landsat 6, but we do want Landsat 4 to 5. Let's do that next. You always have to make sure you select the level 1 extra icon there. That's what I was doing wrong. And then we visualize. Let's get one in for Landsat 4 to 5. That'll do. And then we can pin that one. And then finally we go to Landsat 1 to 5. These are the real old early Landsat satellites that your browser's brought in, which is just fantastic. And although the quality is a little bit dodgy and they're sometimes misplaced and sometimes messed up like this one, but no worries, some of them are okay. Not that one. Anyway, it doesn't matter for this purposes. That'll do. So that's 1979 31st. Anyway, that doesn't matter. We've got our false color and then we just need to pin that. So now we've got all of our pins: Landsat 1 to 5, Landsat 4 to 5, Landsat 7, Landsat 8 to 9, Sentinel 2. Once you've created the pins for the false color imagery for all of these satellites, we're now ready to create our time-lapse. And the time-lapse function is over here on the right. For me, I'm going to select images every week, but you can select every year if you want a quicker result with less faffing about. Next, we only want summer images because winter will be too white because of snow cover. That will make it harder to see the glacier in its snout when it's all white. So here I'm selecting July, August and September for the Northern Hemisphere. Obviously shift this if looking at Southern Hemisphere glaciers. We need to bring in all of our pinned images into the time-lapse function, and so that we can search through all of them. Now we need to set our dates. Because we have selected all of these satellites, the start date now goes all the way back to the 1970s. So just select the earliest time available as the start, and then for the end, just select today or near today. Select to make the time-lapse. This may take a while to process depending on your computer and internet connection. You'll be able to tell it's still processing by this little dial thing over here. We're going to be getting tons of images, so let's filter out a few more by setting the tile coverage to 80% and then the cloud cover to be 50%. While the time-lapse is being processed with all of the satellite imagery for all these different satellites, we can actually get started on the next process because it's going to take a little bit of time. This step is to remove all of the bad or mislocated images, and there will be a lot of them. To do this, just untick from the start any images that have too much cloud or that seem to have a location error in them. For the Landsat 7 images that are they have all the lines across them, I would just keep a few where they are needed, so in the period where there are only Landsat 7 images. And then once the other satellites come in, just remove all of the Landsat 7 images. And after 2016, you can also remove all Landsat images and focus only on the Sentinel-2 images. This should prevent a little bit of flickering in the final part of the time-lapse. The other thing you can do is removing images that are very close to others in time. Say if you have 2 good images that are only a few days apart, it's best to untick one of them so that the time-lapse does not just essentially stop at that time, if that makes sense. Use your best judgment. To be proper, you might want to have a more carefully organized time difference between the images, but for a rough one like this, don't worry too much about it. After a lot of unticking of images, your time-lapse should be finally ready. You can slide the bar here to see it in all its glory, and you'll see the glacier moving and the lakes on the glaciers moving along with it. But now we want to save it. The little cog allows you to change some settings. I tend to change to a 720 pixel box to make it a little bit bigger and more detailed. But you can go larger. You can then save it as either a GIF animation or as an MP4. As you can see, in the case of the Baltoro Glacier, there is not much change in the glacier snout. But if you check most other glaciers in the world, you will find general retreats, and in some cases very large retreats. And so that is how you make a time-lapse of a glacier going back to the 1970s. This ability was added to EO Browser only within the last year or so, and it's great, allowing anyone to check the glaciers for themselves. So if you know anyone who would be interested in doing this, please share this video. And if you do create your own time-lapses, we'd love to see them on the Discord, or you can mention us on Twitter at YouStorm.org. Thanks for watching, so see you in the next one.